Welcome to your inaugural episode of Talkin' Shit, Talkin' Football. I'm Jesse Murphy, your host, coming to you with your Week 5 summary of this NFL season. A lot of what I'm going to say is a summary of things better, smarter football analysts have said, written, tweeted, whatever. But coupling it with my own opinion and je ne sais quoi, so let's get to it. Okay, and now I just want to give a quick summary of the other interesting Week 5 games. Eagles lose to the Broncos at home. Broncos were oddly 1-112, being down 14 points or more in the fourth quarter on the road. That includes when John Elway was the quarterback. So it is pretty fascinating to think that they had this. Now, obviously, coming down from 2 scores in the fourth quarter at home or on the road is a pretty big undertaking, but it's funny to think that as clutch and as great as Elway was, they had that kind of dark cloud over them as far as, being down on the road. Sean Payton and Bo Nix pulled it off. I don't necessarily really buy the Broncos as a real serious threat to win the AFC West or be a real playoff threat, but they certainly look like one of those seed 5, 6, or 7 playoff teams that maybe with the right matchup can win a game in the wild card round. I just don't buy them yet entirely. The Eagles are a fascinating mess. They're Super Bowl champions, but they seem like they're almost winning in spite of themselves. I don't go crazy for stats, but I thought it was pretty fascinating that the Eagles had been outgained by the other team in their first 4 wins of the season, meaning the other team had amassed more yards on offense. Now, yards don't necessarily equal points, but there is a certain correlation. And the Bucs, whom the Eagles beat in Week 4, had 175 more yards of offense. It's fascinating to think the Eagles are still able to pull it off. Timely plays, timely turnovers, block kick return for a touchdown obviously helps. But the Eagles are clearly, the most fascinating, basically successful icy past the highway in the league at this point. Vikings beat the Browns in London in what was apparently a fairly competitive international game. Those games are horrible for the players. I guess the Vikings were helped by the fact they at least stayed over there on that side of the pond because they played in Dublin against the Steelers, I think, the week before. With the Browns, the most interesting thing is the whole quarterback controversy. Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, being the third string, still the third string after the Browns benched Joe Flacco. Dylan Gabriel, for whatever reason, including he probably just doesn't ruffle feathers or piss people off the way that Shedeur seems to, gets the nod. I don't think it's a matter of whether Shedeur will get to start for the Browns this year. I think it's a matter of how long. And I'll put it out, I'll say, by week 8 or 9. I just don't think, the Browns have a great defense. Their offense isn't particularly potent. And I think they're going to roll the dice with Shedeur by mid-season, which I guess would be end of October, early November. Indianapolis Colts keep rolling. I know they have the 1 loss, but they beat the shit out of the Raiders, I believed. Who knows if they're for real, as if they're any kind of real serious threat. But right now, I guess they're tied for the 1 seed with the Bills. Daniel Jones is reborn. Right place, right time. Interesting team to watch. The Saints cooled off the Jackson Dart mania with the Giants that had kind of ignited. Actually, I guess technically in the end of that, in the middle of that Giants Sunday night game against the Chiefs, when the Giants fans were chanting for Jackson Dart over Russell Wilson, the Giants aren't going to be a threat really to do much this year, but it will be interesting to see whether or not Jackson Dart can do more than just bring some excitement to the fan base, which is certainly valuable. Whether they win or lose, obviously winning is preferable, but seeing the way that the fan base responded to a Dart, that week 4 game when they beat the Chargers. It's obviously there is value to that, just having a fan base that's actually excited to be there in the stands. Cowboys over Jets. Jets are god awful. Dak Prescott making a case for MVP. Obviously, what is a case for MVP in Week 5? Who knows? But he's always been solid. He hasn't ever been spectacular, but he's playing amazingly in probably the most regularly chaotic situation any player can be in, which is playing for Jerry Jones in Dallas. Dak is super solid, literally, in that, the stratosphere of solid, great, elite. He's really at that top part of solid, which is not an insult. You know what I mean? It means, like, maybe at the right time he can catch fire. I don't think he'll ever have, like, a part, like a summertime like Joe Flacco did in 2012, where he's just lights out amazing, and leads him to a Super Bowl, but who knows? If you haven't seen the highlights, and I use the term loosely, of Titans Cardinals, please check it out. In the second half, there were more, the antiquated, the NFL bloopers, which now just seems so tacky and corny. Titans quarterback Cam Ward throws a pass. Cardinals defender intercepts it, falls to the ground. Should have just stayed on the ground, but as he starts getting up, he's literally just up enough off the ground for it to qualify as a fumble when he loses control of the ball. I mean, he was literally like, if he had just stayed down, the defender would have been fine. He intercepts the ball, falls down, tries to get up as he's literally just enough off the ground for it to be, a live ball, fumbles the ball rolls, guys from both teams try to get on it, Titans receiver falls on the ball, Titans touchdown. And that was just one of them. It was really something to see. This one didn't necessarily seem to be on Kyler Murray, other than the fact that, they were up, I think, 21-6, and I don't know, they couldn't score more points. There was, of course, again, the Arizona running back, literally right before he crosses the goal line, doing the celebratory flip of the ball, losing possession of the ball, and no touchdown. Titans get the ball. Man, I mean, I have never played an NFL game. I can't imagine the excitement that goes through you when you're about to score a touchdown. But Jesus Christ, guys! I mean, I don't know what to say. Bucks over the Seahawks. Bucks might be the most exciting team, what is it? This is their 4th game that they've won with a game-winning drive. Baker Mayfield is the perfect quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I say that as, an admirer of Brady. Brady is my favorite football player ever. And obviously what Brady brought to the Bucks, winning a Super Bowl, having another really good second year. They win a playoff game, they make it to the divisional, lose that crazy game to the Rams. And, the last year wasn't so good. But Brady's impact on the Bucks, undeniable. I don't know if they're going to retire 12, his number, they probably should. But that period of Brady being with the Bucks, as successful as it was, at least those first 2 years, it still seems kind of weird. I mean, that news happened literally, I remember when Brady left New England, and I think it was 1 or 2 days into the COVID lockdown 2020, where I remember waking up and reading that Brady had signed with the Buccaneers, and I was like, Tom Brady's going to play for the Bucs? And of course it worked out, but the Bucs have always kind of been this sort of like misfit, kind of fun, can't take them too seriously. And you certainly should take them seriously because they're kicking ass. They have the one loss to the Eagles, but there's a certain, like, gunslinger, not necessarily the most polished. There's something about Baker which is just perfect for Tampa Bay, and he's kicking ass. He's again, week 4, week 5 MVP, but he certainly would be in that race because he's playing awesome. And the last one I'll get to is Lions at Bengals. Lions win on the road at the Bengals. it's a little disconcerting that the Lions allowed a Joe Burrow-less Bengals team let them score 27 points. Bengals do have some amazing offensive weapons: Jamar Chase, D. Higgins, Evan Browning, a quarterback. I guess he's solid, but it's still, the Lions defense certainly seems opportunistic, but it doesn't necessarily seem the most stingy, the most effective. Last year, they lost to a Washington team that was super hot when the Lions had a shitload of injuries on defense. Just their chance, they need to have a defense good enough to, at least hold a team to 20 or under. You figure that the Lions offense is such a well-oiled machine that even on a bad day, they can generally put up, 21, 24, points relatively easy. So, for Lions fans, I think that the defense struggling a little bit there is a bit of a concern. But, again, when you watch just the way that offense, the Lions offense works, the way the blocking goes together, the way that, what was it? The running, forgive me, Montgomery taking the direct snap, throwing the touchdown to the lineman. I mean, the way that all that works out, it's just, it's fun to watch, and you definitely want to see them, not just for the city of Detroit, but you'd like to see a team like that have a really good run in the playoffs, just because they're exciting to watch. And lastly, those Washington Commanders kicked the shit out of the Chargers in LA. Just like with the Broncos, I'm buying the Chargers possibly even less. I don't know. Herbert has a shitload of talent, but he's never played particularly well when it really seems to matter. I think he has 2 really bad playoff losses where he did not play particularly well. And I just, Harbaugh, again, they look to me like a seed 5, 6, or 7 playoff team. Now, a seed 5, 6, or 7 team can certainly go on a run. No 7 seed has won the Super Bowl yet, but 5th seeds, 6th seeds have won the Super Bowl, but they have a look about them. 2020 Tampa Bay Bucks were a 5th seed. The 2007 New York Giants were a 6th seed. I think the 2010 Packers were a 6th seed. All teams that went on to win, but there is a look about them, like, man, that's a dangerous team to play in the playoffs. And even though it's week 5, the Chargers look like, if you're that, division winner in the AFC who's going to be hosting whatever seed 5, 6, or 7 the Chargers are, you're, already game planning for a divisional round.